many cases, those jobs were in one industry. Late last year in Ohio, Youngstown Sheet and Tube, a steel company owned by the Likes Corporation, closed most of its plant and left 5,000 people stranded without jobs. We went to Ohio to see what effect the closing had on a small-town family that had expected never-ending security from the steel mill. Struthers, Ohio is just one of the communities in the Youngstown area totally dependent on one industry, steel. In 1976, the Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company produced over 2 million tons of raw steel and employed over 9,000 men and women. On September 19, 1977, the Likes Corporation announced a shutdown of the mill, which permanently laid off 5,000 workers and toppled the security of thousands of families. We talked to Becky DOMINIC and her sister Margaret Nicalek, whose husbands worked in the mill. What was the first reaction that you had when you heard of this shutdown and what was going to happen to the town?
I think the first thing I did was run to Margaret, my mother, and there was lots and lots of tears. A lot of tears. We have this good girlfriend that we grew up with since, right around we went to first grade. And her husband, it's always been a joke, but how could you live in Struthers? Smell that smog. Oh, God, you know. And she called me up like, the day after the announcement, and she says, Becky, I feel so sorry for your family. She says, what could I do for you? And I just was crying. I mean, there was just no words to be said, you know. And she says, her husband says, now I know what that smog meant to you. Yeah, that's my bread and butter, you know. That's everything. Raised in a steel town like Struthers, women like Becky and Margaret knew their husbands would make good wages. Union leaders had made sure of it. Just 3 weeks before the shutdown, the union signed a new contract with Likes, guaranteeing workers more money and even greater benefits. The new contract was good news to local merchants as well. Steel workers were their paying customers. We talked with Becky's husband, Frank Dominic, and his 2 brothers-in-law, who told us how all this changed.
Say 3 years ago, I go to buy a car. I go to a local dealer. Tell him I'm working, you know, he knows me. Say, hey, Frank, what are you doing? Look for a car? Yeah. He says, you guys know you work sheet and tube and all that. So why don't you take 2? Take 2. One for the old lady. So what do you mean, take 2? So you work sheet and tube, right? Yeah. Take 2. They don't want 1. They know you're solid here. Sheet and tube is solid. Come July then, or June, when I had the fireplace done, here comes a construction company I had come in. This guy wants to put in 2 fireplaces. He said, where you work? I said, sheet and tube. Mill, right? Get 2, 1 for each side of the house. Even then, they didn't know. A month later, you can't get nothing. You go to the doctor's office, this man, first thing he says, you got any cash money?
Hello, Grandma. Hello, Grandma. Hello, Grandma.
When Frank married his wife, Becky Dill, he married into a steel family, the Dill family. Jean Dill watched her 3 daughters' husbands join the mill and work beside her son and husband. The entire family shared in the prosperity of the mill. Grandchildren were raised next door to one another. Brothers and sisters have remained friends. They've lived as neighbors. The closeness of the family has not yet been broken, but it will be soon.
Where's Grandpa work?
I'm not worried about my husband finding a job in another state. I feel, you know, we have a lot of opportunities. We have our age and stuff, but it's the emotional part. Like, we're used to, there's quite a few things we do as a family. Like, we're not just brothers and sisters, we're friends, too. I could walk out my door and look 3 directions and see love. You know, there's my mother, my sister, a neighbor that I grew up with. When you move away, it's you and I and the kids. That's it, you know, and you have a lot to adjust to. I think adjusting emotionally will be the hardest problem.
Life after the shutdown has taken a lot of getting used to by everyone. Only a few months ago, Frank and Margaret's husband, Bob Nicalek, worked long hours together in maintenance at Youngstown Sheet and Tube. Now, their trips to the mill are quick, to sign up for unemployment checks which qualify them for substantial, though temporary, union and federal aid. The steel workers' immediate problem is not money. Until their benefits run out in the next few months, most laid-off workers are receiving as much as they made while working. But for steel workers who become unskilled labor in any other industry, the question is, How will they maintain the standard of living union steel wages have afforded them?
I couldn't find a better job at the kind of money I was making. Someone said, "You working at steel? What kind of money you make?" I say, "Hey, pal, I made my $20,000 every year. How much money are you making?" I work Kmart. I make $5,000 to $6,000 a year. Not me. I can't work for $4 an hour. I built my lifestyle on X amount of dollars. If I don't get that money here, I'm gonna go somewhere else and get it.
Frank's going to go wherever the money's at. That's, you know, wherever he goes and gets a job, tries to get a job, and wherever he's going to get the most money, that's where Frank's going to go. I asked him if we could go where it's going to be warm, because I don't like the cold weather at all. And he says if he makes more money in Minnesota, or, you know, than he does in Texas, he's going to Minnesota. I kid with him and I tell him I'll miss him while he's gone, but he don't want to hear it.
In Struthers, steel was more than an industry, it was a tradition, passed from one generation to the next. Frank was brought into the mill by his father-in-law, Bob Dill, who had been brought in by his uncle back in 1945. Everyone thought the mill would go on forever. Today, only son Jim continues his job in the mill. And at the age of 57, after 32 years of service, Bob has been laid off too. Jack Dill owns his own business. He believes his brothers-in-law will have to leave Struthers, making dinners like this one a thing of the past.
It's fun when everybody gets here. It's, you know, it's nice. And it's going to be, eventually, you know, it's going to be a little bit empty. Hell, almost one table, you know, when you're used to 2 big tables and everything, there'll only be probably about 10 of us instead of, you know, everybody.
You see what I have to lose. This is what I live for. This is my love. This is my life. Not only am I forced to retire, I'm forced to give up my family, too. I don't like it neither. I think I'm giving up an awful lot.
I mean, it's easy to sit here and talk, but I'm the one that got to go home at night and listen. You know what I mean? The women have all stuck together on this. Nobody wants to leave. But Nick knows he got 2 kids, you got to feed them. I got 2. Well, Kenny, he doesn't have any, but sooner or later he will. And he knows if you stay here, not only for us to work now, what about 20 years from now? What are them guys gonna do? I don't want it to happen again, so when I make the move, it will be somewhere where I know at least I would like to have 3 generations with me like the old man did. I deserve what he had, I feel. Nick deserves it, and so does everybody else in the family. Simple. But the women all stuck together on they moving.
When this first all happened and the thoughts of leaving really upset me. I'm getting used to the idea. Someday I want a house, maybe. Someday I'll need a new refrigerator, a new car. I mean, how am I going to have this if there isn't somebody working? And my husband doesn't want me to be the provider, which I don't want to be either. At least there'll be an opportunity, so something there, something that you could work for. And I don't think that Youngstown's going to have that.
If people like Frank and his brothers-in-law leave Struthers, there won't be much of a workforce left to attract new industry. This is a major concern of town officials.
Wasn't there some kind of a hint to the town leaders that this could possibly happen, having a town dependent on one industry?
Absolutely. I think
John Kovach is the auditor of Struthers.
We try to go to the people and recommend that they give us tax dollars to make improvements, put industrial parks in and so forth. But when people are working and things are good, the natural tendency is to believe that it'll never happen. And as a result, they were reluctant to support these programs that we were proposing.
Has the city government talked specifically with particular companies, made offers about the kind of deal they would get if they would locate here?
The talks are still in the preliminary stages, but I think with any luck, we could have some companies in here within a year, year and a half.
Now, they say down at City Hall, what they want is the people to hang in there with us and stay for a year, year and a half.
They want you to hang in there, but how can you hang in there if you don't got no money? And if you don't got no money, you can't make a house payment, then you don't got no house.
Based on the security of his job at Sheet and Tube, Ken Tedrow was able to finance a new home across the street from his brother-in-law, Frank. He signed the mortgage just 1 month before the shutdown.
Nobody's going to come out here and pay the price that you paid for your home now, because they know now there's no jobs. Values are going to drop like crazy on all homes. A lot of people are putting homes up for sale now. It's going to hurt banks and everything eventually, because a lot of people are going to say, hey, I bought a new home, I can't make the payment, take it.
I just wonder how far we've gone in our American way of life, not only in Struthers, Ohio, but on a national basis. How much do we care about the guy next door, and the apartment next door, or the home next door? Or, you know, if he gets in a problem, are we willing to help him? I think many of us, if we really look at it, we really don't.
It's sad. It's really sad because our parents are at an age now where I'd like to be here for them, like they've been here for me all my life. I call my dad up, you know, he's like Mr. Handyman and everything for me. I rely on them a lot for a lot of things, support when I'm sick or when I'm down. Hey, they've been there for me all the time, and who's to say if I have to leave, there'll be times when I maybe would want to be here that I won't be able to be. That's...
Might be too far away.
That's right.
Now I'm don't have the security, the thoughts, or the future what looked good to me. My life has stopped at 57. My earnings is done. 32 years of my life is gone. And now I must retire at 57.
What are you going to do with all those hours that you've been able to fill with your family when they go?
It's going to make an old man out of me, and I don't want to be an old man. That's what it's going to do to me.
I haven't even thought about it.
Where are we going?
Some laid-off sheet and tube workers. That Heidevitz report.
Remember the Robert Dills from Struthers? Mr. Dill and his 3 sons-in-law lost their jobs at Sheet and Tube, and CBS chose them to tell the story of the shutdown. Jan Hopkins returned to the Dills tonight to get their reaction to the news of the new airplane factory.
Think that's good news for your family?
Definitely. If they were hiring women, I'd apply tomorrow.
Think you might apply?
Oh, that's a figure of speech, really, but in the long and the short of it is, I think that's going to help this district a lot. Really do. Let's say I hope.
What about you? What about for yourself and for your sons and sons-in-law? Do you think that it's the answer for you?
I'm happy for my sons and my son-in-laws and for so many of these young people that's been leaving this here communities. I hope that that'll change their minds and they will stay and try to get employment at the new air factory.
Do you think that steel workers could make airplanes?
Oh, we can make anything. We're genius. We're skilled craftsmen all the way around.
To the Dills, this news couldn't have come at a better time. Though one member of the family has landed a job at Republic, 2 are still unemployed and will soon run out of benefits. So they are anxiously awaiting the time that ICX Aviation starts taking applications. For NENSWATCH 27, I'm Beth Heidevitz.
Got me out of here in no time at all. By the way.
There's the story.
The Dill clan, including grandchildren and in-laws, gather round the television sets to watch themselves on the CBS March magazine.
We went to Ohio to see what effect the closing had on the small-town family that had expected never-ending security from the steel mill. We talked to Becky DOMINIC and her sister Margaret Nicalek, whose husbands worked in the mill. What was the first reaction that you had when you heard of this shutdown and what was going to happen to the town?
I think the first thing I did was run to my mother, and there was lots and lots of tears. A lot of tears.
And it's pretty exciting to see yourself on the tube. After the excitement wore off and the show ended, the family gets together in the living room to rehash the highlights and talk about what it's like to have the entire country hear your story.
I think it makes you feel good that there is somebody somewhere that has an idea now of just exactly what can happen to them. That's my outlook on it. I think they did a real good job.
And some people did hear and respond. While we were there, the family got a very important phone call.
Told me that they was very impressed over this their magazines, and their hearts went way out to me and to my family, and that they was in business and sharing, and they was expanding in this area someplace. And if I was interested, and my family, why, to call her husband between 6 and 7, and for an appointment, and every other time he turned around, he said it'd be well worth your while.
And we'll be there when they make that call and tell you about it at 11.
Steel workers who lost their jobs when the camel works shut down. Tonight, in the last part of the series, Jan checks in again with the Dill family in Struthers.
We met the Dills the day they gathered to watch their story on the CBS March magazine. The broadcast brought immediate results with several calls from people offering jobs. Now, a half a year later, we checked in to see what's happening with the Dills.
Well, all the calls, Jan, that I got was seemed to be a salesman, and it all was Amways. I'm no salesman. I couldn't sell lifesavers on a sinking ship, nor could I sell 50-cent pieces for a quarter. Now, I'm still interested in employment, anything but selling.
Dill has retired, but not voluntarily, and the whole experience has soured his wife.
I'm bitter, I know I am, but I think this district is sunk. We can't wait till an airplane factory comes in here. What are we supposed to do till that airplane factory gets around? We don't want all these kids on relief, so God bless them. They can find a job outside the district or within the district. It's up to them, I mean.
The Dill's daughter, Becky, her husband, Frank, and their 2 children are preparing themselves for what they see as their only option, a move to Texas and the new U.S. Steel plant.
It's really tough with him being one of 8, me being one of 5, and both of us being close to our families, you know. But his one sister is supposed to be going with us, but makes it a little bit easier. But it's not going to be the same without my family. No way.
2 other Dill branches have been successful in finding jobs here. Bob Nicalek got a job at Republic in April, and today Ken Tedrow landed a job at Republic. The last branch of the Dill clan, Jim, is still hanging on to his job as a motor inspector at Sheet and Tube.
I am a qualified motor inspector, and Republic has taken anybody that they can get because they have found that our maintenance people are top-notch people, and Wheeling Steel is taking them. There's some prospects with Copper Weld taking some of our people, Lordstown, so I think Sheet and Tube is just starting to realize that they've lost a lot of good people in the hopes that they ever should reopen. They wouldn't be able to come up with the qualified people that they had.
And they're not going to have my uncles anymore.
A year has made a big difference to the Dill family. Sheet and Tube used to be discussed with reverence, but now even the children are angry about what the camel work shutdown has done to their life. Jan Hopkins with a minicam.
Local police authorities are continuing to investigate 37-year-old Ken Taylor's claim of a shock to the community. Steel workers employed there. A lot of words have been spoken and written about the effect of the layoffs on the workers. Now it has been poignantly expressed in a painting. Chris Davidson has the story.
Cheryl Spencer Frank is an artist who lives in Sharpsville, Pennsylvania. Her husband was a millwright at the chemical works of Youngstown Sheet and Tube, but was laid off last January. Before he left, he took pictures of friends he'd made at the mill, like Frank Dominic. When her husband was let go, Cheryl decided to take some courses to renew her teaching certificate. One of the courses was photorealism, painting from photographs.
I looked through photographs. We had to pick a photograph that would be appealing to the times and all. And I thought the photograph of Frank Dominic would really show what was happening in Youngstown at the time, that despair that he had and against the wall in the mill. So that's how the painting came about.
The photograph was taken just after Dominic was told he was through.
The picture's now in the Mansion Gallery in Sharon.
Yes.
Are you trying to sell it?
Yes, I am. If there's an interested buyer, you can get a hold of the people at the Mansion Gallery.
The painting is representative of the despair felt by workers and to some extent the community after the camera work shut down. But it seems the spirit is returning. We're pretty sure Frank's has. He's now employed again, working in Texas. Chris Davidson, Newswatch 27.